So WWE Hell in the Cell, which is one of their bigger pay-per-views because the Hell in the Cell is like the new steel cage. And they still have steel cage matches every once in a while, but the Hell in the Cell is a cage that surrounds the ring. It's not connected on the outside of the ring. You get like 4 or 5 feet in between the ring, and then there's a top to it. You can go on top.
Lit it off.
And so basically, they've started the first Hell in the Cell with Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker, 97, which is what almost ended Shawn Michaels' career, which eventually he was out for 4 years after 98. But anyway, it's very dangerous because people are always dropping. Tons of weapons. Mick Foley's been in a few of them. He's known for them. Without Hell in the Cell, people wouldn't even know about Mick Foley anymore. He's gone through, we're talking like a 25-foot drop.
98, he lost his tooth through his nose.
And then he had the one with the Triple H match with all the thumbtacks, and I think the thumbtacks in the Undertaker match as well. So anyway, it's a brutal match on these wrestlers, but also it's usually a match that establishes or ends, like story arcs. So Mick Foley's actually last match before he came back for a small run was losing to Triple H in Hell in the Cell.
Right.
That was his last match. I think it was a 2 out of 3 or whatever. Something like that. So they were setting up, which is the hottest feud right now going on in WWE, which is good and bad. It's good because there are young guys that deserve the shot. Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose.
Both of whom I love, especially Dean Ambrose.
These are always the two guys I always said these are going to be the breakout stars. Especially Dean Ambrose, but Rollins is fantastic. The selection of Rollins to be the one to turn heel against the Shield was the perfect choice. He needed it the most. He was sort of the one overlooked usually, so he was a good choice for it.
I mean, I still think breaking them up that early was...
Well, in retrospect, they had to.
They had to.
They would have been screwed if
they had to. But I do agree with you on that. I mean, Rollins was the right one because it gave... Reigns will stand on his own as a big guy. Ambrose is good enough on the mic to be on his own, but Rollins needed a heel turn to make himself worthwhile. But
Rollins just took the ball and ran with it.
Oh yeah, no, he's great. I mean, he's really
on
good.
the mic, in the ring. He's put on a great match. He had a good match with Cena on Raw. So he's been holding his own.
His mic skills have improved dramatically too. So, anyways, the main event was Ambrose, Rollins, and I mean, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I thought it was pretty much shit, and that's without the garbage ending.
I thought it was average.
Average, adequate.
It was adequate,
which a Hell in a Cell main event between those two guys should not have been adequate, and that's what I was saying after I watched it with people. That by no means should have been an average match.
No, because it was a payoff to a hot feud going on for what I think the Shield broke up like 3-4 months ago.
Yeah,
4 months ago, something like that. So you think that would be, wow, this is going to be like huge and epic. And plus that was the last match of the night. The other co-main event they put in the middle of the card, which was Randy Orton versus Cena for the 50th time.
Boring as shit.
I actually heard that was a good match.
It was by the books.
A Cena Orton match.
It was a by the book Cena Orton match. The fact that Cena won makes no sense to me. Not that Orton winning would have been any better, but Cena just lost twice to Brock. Mm-hmm. Why did he just win another shot against Brock?
Well, he got close to winning on the second opportunity, which was a really bad decision. But
anyway, back to the main event.
Back to the main event. We'll go back to Orton Cena. So basically, they fight on top of the cage for like 10 minutes before the match even starts, along with Jamie Noble and Joey Mercury, which is great. I always loved Jamie Noble. Jamie Noble was so good, so underrated. The fact of the matter is he was a smaller guy. He was so entertaining and a really good wrestler too.
He was.
We're talking about 2004 to 2007.
Then I must have seen him somewhere else because I don't remember.
Well, he played like the trailer trash character. He had the girl with him, who was the first Tough Enough winner. That's in WWE.
I'm just trying to remember where else he wrestled because I don't think I saw him in WWE. Anyways, Jamie Noble
he was in WCW, I think, as well.
Okay, Jamie Noble was good.
Yeah.
But so they're starting off on top of the Hell in the Cell, which is interesting because normally, you're not supposed to do spots off the top anymore, and they were hitting each other, and I think there was even a suplex up there.
A couple moves.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was interesting, and I actually thought it was kind of off to a good start, and then they start climbing down. So they won't do anything off, and the worst forced spot in
it was bad.
The thing is it should have been such an easy spot, and I say that as a guy sitting here. Obviously, I'm not them, but they're climbing down the side of the cage. And they're fighting back and forth on the side of the cage, just throwing punches and swinging.
They're about halfway up the cage.
Yeah, about halfway up the cage. And what happens is Ambrose hits Rollins, and Rollins falls.
Whoa.
And then Ambrose, in all the replays, they couldn't make it look good. You can see him holding onto the cage, and Ambrose literally takes a leap off the cage into the table. And all they had to do was both throw a punch or something, so they both fell. But
they had Ambrose headbutt him, which you could say, okay, he was woozy, then he fell, but it didn't look good. You're right. It did not look good. What also didn't look good was the total telegraphing, because it wasn't like they climbed down, then they fell up. It was like they climbed down a full minute until they came. So it gave you can see both announce teams step all the way back. They get their iPads and computers.
Oh,
they know it's coming.
Yeah.
So it was really badly directed.
I don't even know how I could possibly forget about that.
I could picture Vince in the truck yelling, "Don't show him!" Like because WWE's really good at not screwing up telegraphing stuff like that. The cameraman was totally in the wrong position.
I was watching it with it was Vonnie, myself, and my buddy Chris, and we're watching the pay-per-view in Buffalo, actually, because I'm still in Buffalo. And Chris goes, "Oh my God, are they really standing up? Oh my God, are they really pulling the monitors out?" And they were pulling the monitors out before they had even gotten halfway down the cage. I mean, they were planning the spot visibly.
So it was that bad, where that was even on camera to pull the monitors out?
Yeah, so, I mean, that's what sucked about it is if you saw it coming from a mile away, which even if they had gone off the top, would have ruined a lot of the impact of it. But the fact that it was a fairly low impact spot off the middle of the cage, and it was obvious it was coming, it was just a bad start to the match.
It was too much of them trying to go for a cool moment.
Yeah.
Or they could have just not even went to the top of the cage. They could have just started inside, had the same exact match, and it could have been a little bit smoother, because they only were inside the cage for like 10, 12 minutes, it seemed like. It wasn't that long at all.
Because then there was a stretcher spot.
Stretcher spot, which lasted forever, like at WrestleMania. They basically did the same thing with both on the stretcher. This time, it didn't fool me. And then they go in the cage. You have, chair shots back and forth. Both guys go through a table. So it's like, okay, this is every
There was some interesting table placement. I thought some of the stuff they did with the
power bomb.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
The elbow.
But yeah, the match itself.
Spot fest.
Well, here's the thing. I would have liked the match a lot more if it had been that short 5-minute match inside the Hell in a Cell without all the fucking stupid accoutrements. The spot off the side, the stuff on the top, the stretcher spot. If it hadn't been surrounded by so much nonsense, and it was still a decent little bit of wrestling.
It just fell apart. It was one of the few times where the WWE did not do a good job of not showing the seams, basically. And now I'm going to watch for Jamie Noble every time, because his performance is just funny as hell. So Jamie Noble is like they're wheeling him away, and then when Ambrose gets off of his gurney, he goes in, Tax Bones throws him in. The referee still want the match to go on, so the referee's one's inside the cage, the other one's outside, and they usually lock the Hell in a Cell door. And he's putting the chain around it, and Jamie Nolle's right in his face. He's like, "Don't you lock that! Don't you lock that!" And it's like, well, you can punch him or tell the ref these guys are too injured. So it was just really bad writing. That's really what it was. Just bad writing. That's where usually you don't see bad writing on their main event match like that. That was just really off from to do something like that.
Well,
yeah,
I've noticed what was the recent one that really pissed me off too. There was a recent pay-per-view. It wasn't a Hell in a Cell. I think it was a cage match, and it was the Wyatt Cena match.
Okay,
and I was like, this is gonna be great, and it was awful because they were too focused on the gimmicking, like the gimmick of it, that they couldn't they didn't spend any time focusing on putting a good match. Because here's the thing, Cena aside, Wyatt could have carried Cena to a good match inside a normal ring. You know that Ambrose and Rollins can have good matches. So what's the problem here? They're getting signals from everywhere, and they're focusing too much on the gimmick.
Yeah. So lots of just spots with weapons and tables, and then the denouement was coming where somehow it's always funny how they manage to put stuff under the ring. Somehow Dean Ambrose gets 2 center blocks under the ring, brings him out, and then puts Seth Rollins' head on it because he's going to do the curb stomp to him, how it was done to Dean Ambrose to get him injured. So he goes to do it, then the lights go out for like 35, 40 seconds with that backwards like chant.
Yep.
Then the lights come back on, and it's a weird hologram in the middle. Some weird hologram effect, which I never saw WWE do before. And then smoke, and then it's Bray Wyatt showing up to inexplicably attack Dean Ambrose.
Inexplicably. And I like Wyatt. I, as a wrestler, I really like Wyatt. I find his gimmick to be getting tiresome. With the whole, I'm so spooky, I'm gonna walk around like a spider.
Which is funny, he's only been doing it for a year and a half.
I know, but like it's like I said, I do like Bray Wyatt as a wrestler. But where is this all going? What I mean, is this really gonna be the end of the Rollins, Ambrose?
Well, no,
feud?
it's not.
It can't be.
It's gonna extend because it has to. It didn't get a clean finish.
Right.
You'd hope. I think maybe this was their way of bringing Wyatt's been gone for 2.5 months now at this point. 3 months since 2.5 months since he beat Jericho, during that cage match that ended that feud and sent Jericho away again. I guess this is the way I would have booked it. I would have had done it where they found a way into the cage and you had Kane and all them gang up, and then someone saves Rollin. I don't know who. Then you can go towards a traditional Survivor Series match at least to keep it going that way, which is going to happen anyway. They're going to have Team Cena versus Team Authority, which is actually a pretty good idea.
Right.
I love traditional Survivor Series matches.
Sure.
But I think they want to put Wyatt in this spot to establish quickly, and they have another main eventer. They have to do this now.
And
there's no one else. The roster is dead.
And that's what I said too. I said I think I understand what they're doing in the long run here. When Vonnie and Chris and I were discussing it afterwards, we all know why they did it. I mean, they kind of have to. They need someone else in playing big league, basically.
Yeah.
But it was just so forced and out of nowhere, and it ruined. Like I said, it took an average match that shouldn't have been average anyways, and it really just made it a wash. Worthless to me. I after watching it, I didn't care much for it. To briefly cover the rest of this, couple other things.
We'll just cover the main event ramifications, since usually the main event's the biggest story in wrestling. Now it's not, because Lesnar hasn't been around for the past pay-per-view. He's not going to be around for this one. He probably won't be around for Survivor Series. So now you're in a situation where you can't blame Lesnar. You blame WWE. If they're going to put the title on someone, not have him defend it, you have to build up these other feuds. So now you're not going to have the title defended for 3 months because he's probably not going to have it up for grabs at Survivor Series. So you're running out of main eventers. Obviously, you can't feed someone like Ambrose to Lesnar. That'd be a waste, And then you have Ziggler, who you could do that. I still think Ziggler's going to face Lesnar at some point. I think they're going to build him up to do that. But
I do want to. Okay.
But at this point, Cena's not going to beat Lesnar again. It doesn't make any sense for him to beat Lesnar again. It doesn't make sense for Cena to ever have the title again. It wouldn't make any sense.
No.
At this point, he only got it because Daniel Bryan got injured. Otherwise, he would not have gotten it at all.
Right.
It would have been Bryan getting destroyed by Lesnar at SummerSlam. So that's where you're at. It's interesting though that with Orton, they're going to try to turn him face. He actually RKO'd Paul Heyman, which was very interesting. He did that last week.
Yeah.
So I was expecting Lesnar to show up and destroy Orton, which didn't happen, but at least they planted the seeds for that down the line, that maybe they'll build up Orton to face Lesnar at Royal Rumble or something.
There is, I've said it before, there is something about me that likes Orton. He's not great, but he's good.
He's consistent.
But I like Orton as the eternal heel. I've always liked Orton
because he's a dickish person in real life, and it comes across when he's a face. That's the problem.
Is he really a dick in real life?
Yeah, there's a lot of stories of him just being a massive dick.
Well, I just think he makes a good eternal heel. I do want to touch real quickly. You probably didn't see it. The Intercontinental title match.
Didn't watch it.
Okay, it was a 2 out of 3 falls. Cesaro Ziggler. And while I didn't like the ending because I'm a Cesaro mark, Ziggler won. I do like Ziggler too quite a bit. The thing is, I like both the guys in it. What I didn't like was that Ziggler beat him 2 in a row.
Oh, usually they always do 3 falls.
Right. So that is a way of keeping things fresh, but I still feel like they're really, really. And someone's like, Ian doesn't understand heat. They're killing any momentum Cesaro has.
No, Cesaro has none.
Yeah, I have no idea why they won't give it to him.
He was poised to be a top 4 or 5 wrestler in the Federation after WrestleMania, and now he's nothing.
And people love him. He goes out there. He's got a moveset. He works incredibly well. He does. He's one of the best, if not He's one of the best wrestlers they have.
They even had him stuck doing the swing for a little bit for some dumb reason.
He did it. He did it during the Intercontinental.
But I mean, he's a guy that I always said, "Wow, how about him versus Lesnar at some point?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome."
I have no idea why they won't push him. But on the other hand, I'm just hoping he gets something next pay-per-view where he gets a victory. Because what I did like about the Intercontinental match is that by Ziggler keeping it, they are slowly but surely trying to put importance back on that belt.
You say that, but then he loses on every other Raw. So I mean,
by making it a non-title match.
These stupid non-title matches.
See, I don't watch Raw, so I don't see this.
These stupid non-title matches they've been doing more and more. I think for the past, I'd say 4 years, about 5 years, where now when you see a non-title match with a guy who has the U.S. belt or Intercontinental, it's almost an automatic loss. Like these non-title matches did not exist. They did not exist even 10 years ago this consistently with the champs.
No, they did. Not that consistently, but they existed.
I don't remember watching Saturday Night's main event and having non-title matches over the IC belts. I don't remember that at all. I just don't. Or the heavyweight championship.
I'm fairly certain at least Hogan fought I'm fairly certain he fought a handful of
a handful over the 12 years.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm saying is that they did exist. Not
all right.
Sure.
It bothers me, but all right, we got to move on.
We do
from our wrestling talk. So you fans are there that enjoy that wrestling talk. There you go. It's never going to be a separate podcast.
We gave you a solid dose.